Hey, Karen, this is really exciting for me because when we asked the audience, the members, the followers, like, what's the one topic that they were like hottest about, they wanted to know how to increase confidence, it was about public speaking and presentations. And because I do it for a living and I teach it as well, I was like, I can't do it myself. I wanted to find an expert. It took me a really long time to find somebody that I was like, yes, and you are so it. So I'm so happy that you're with us, and you just did an entire summit on this topic, right? How many speakers did you have?
We had 21 speakers from all over the world. It was phenomenal, including you. So we have the guest listen there.
Yay, but it's like, it's so great. So like, if there's the expert of the experts on public speaking, it's you, girlfriend. And we get the chance to talk to you and share this with my followers. I'm so grateful.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here. And you know what? I always say I'm a lifelong student and I can always learn more, but I've got a good grasp of it. So let's go.
Let's go. Okay, so the big question, of course, or not even a question, because I think we all know this. Public speaking apparently wakes people out more than death. So, like, why? Like, what is it about public speaking, that you hear most often that people just, like, I can't do it? Like, what's behind that?
You know what it is? A lot of people, it's twofold. So there's one grouping of people who are so obsessed with this statistic that they've heard, and it's a societal norm because you hear it everywhere. And even when I speak with individuals or clients who come, they haven't ever spoken before, but yet they're like, I fear it more than death. And I'm like, well, where did you hear that from? Where did you read it? Where did you see it? Where did you, look in a magazine? Where did you read it online? And it's a perception. And so once you start to believe something that's, may not be known to you, you adopt it as your current reality. And that's what happens to a lot of people. So it's that statistic that's out there. That's one fold of why people fear public speaking. The other piece is they simply fear the unknown. They, in their head, they get stuck in, what if I fall? What if I forget? What if I mess up? What if I stutter? What if I don't know what to do? What if they don't like me? And those are all the unknowns. So when we can look at addressing this societal statistic and the unknowns, that's when we can change how people appear on stage. And that's what it's all about. It's you sharing from here.
I love that. And one thing that really changed the way that I approach my presentations, and it sounds so simple, but it really was profound, was stop worrying about yourself, worry about your audience, right? And as you get out of your head and you're like, what do they want to hear? What do they, are they engaging? Am I entertaining them? If you make it really about your audience and stop worrying about your hair and falling and all that other stuff you mentioned, at least for me and some of my students, I think it really changes the perspective and maybe gets them out of all that societal stuff. You think?
No, indeed. It is all about perspective, completely about perspective, for sure.
Awesome. All right. So I know you have a gazillion tips, and you post a lot on your website. You have on the summit and all your other communication. It's great, but like I hope we can bring some of the juiciest of the juice today to the conversation. Like, what's the best thing that you tell people to kind of do your thing, get on stage, and rock it?
Right. One of the main things is I have a public speaking philosophy that I'd love to share here, and it's a bit of that contrarian approach. And this is what it is. My philosophy goes like this. Public speaking has very little to do with what comes out of your mouth. It almost completely has to do with the conversation you have with yourself about yourself. Right? I'll say that again. Very little to do with what comes out of your mouth. And when people think of public speaking, it's what am I going to say? It's that conversation that you have with yourself, which is normally, as I shared before, what if I fall? What if they don't like me? Me. So when you change that focus and start to ask yourself the right question and think about, it's not about what you say, it's about who you're being on stage. And what do I have to share? And what do I have to give? Because essentially when you're on stage, that's all you can give, Alyssa. You can only give what you know. So if you're standing and you know what? I know a little bit more than them, or I have the capacity to help them, I really and truly can't go wrong. So it's changing that philosophy. Very little to do with what you say. It's about your thoughts and those conversations that you have with yourself before you speak.
It's interesting that you're saying that, Karen. Last month we did, actually 2 months ago now that I'm thinking about it, a show on effective networking with Diane Darling. And she said a very similar thing. Like, people hate to network and they're so worried about what they're going to say when other people think. And she's like, flip the conversation. And just like you said, like, how can I help those people? I have something, information, knowledge, a gift, energy, whatever it might be. And how do I help those folks? And I guess I kind of also reinforce what we said earlier, you know, as a speaker, don't make it so much about yourself. Second biggest tip, or things that you tell people that you see transformational stuff happen.
For sure. It's stop focusing on being perfect. You see, the reality is this: when we go to speak, no matter if it's 2 people or 20,000 people, 200 people, no one wants a perfectionist on stage. And that's the big news. Everyone listening, no one wants a perfectionist on stage. They want someone who's relatable. So when you take off that energy that you're, and all that pushing and that stress that you're putting on yourself of being perfect, you can now be relatable and know that you're supposed to make mistakes. Because what happens when you're this perfect person and I've won these 16 awards and I have 15 PhDs and there's nothing wrong with that. However, the person sitting in front of you wants to know that you're like them and you've gone through something similar. Because what happens in that case is they take down that wall of this, okay, this big shot in front of me speaking. It comes down. They're like, aha, well, you know what? They've experienced what I've experienced. I'm really listening and tuning into what they're saying. So it's taking off the hat of being perfect and just giving once again. And just know that no one wants the perfectionist on stage. They're not hearing you if your intention is to be that perfectionist. Be human.
I love it. Be human. Okay, so number 2. Third one you can throw at the audience today?
Sorry?
Third tip you can throw at us?
Absolutely. Mastering the art of making mistakes. And we're going to do a little bit of role play right here. So here's a biggie. Master the art of making mistakes. No one's perfect. You're not supposed to be, and no one's expecting you to be. All right. So when you take that cap off of I need to be mistakeless and going knowing that you should be making mistakes. You're human. If you cut me, you, anyone else around, we all bleed. You need to be making mistakes. Once again, it builds your own confidence knowing that, you know what, the expectation is for me to only give. It's not to be mistakeless. And I know that's a brand new word and I made it up. If it's in the dictionary, we'll use it today. So you're not focusing on being mistakeless. And here's something I want to do with you quickly. Here's what I do with clients. And I work with a lot of corporate clients, entrepreneurs, politicians. And we go through this quick exercise. And what I will do for you, Alyssa, just to show people what they can do at home with a colleague, with their sibling, is I'm going to hold up a cue card and it'll have a topic on it. And I want you to speak about it for 10, 15 seconds. Then I will switch the card on you. And I just want you just to go free flow. Whatever comes to mind, start to talk about it.
All right, here we go, Karen. I'm game for it. Let's go.
There we go.
Oh, it's backwards. Okay, family, it says. Family. My family, I have four total, myself included. I have these 2 really tall sons. My older son, who's 18, is almost 6'4", and my younger son, who's almost 14, I don't even know how tall he keeps growing. Oh my God, water is, we know, so important to us. I never drink enough though. I should really drink more, Karen, and I need to break that behavior because you know what? That's my resolution, given that you just flashed that card at me. I'm going to drink more water going forward. I think what I'm going to do, in fact, after this interview, I'm going to get one of those giant bottles and I'm not going to leave my desk until then. It is spring here in Boston and bees terrify my kids for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if they were bitten when they were young, but they have some stigma about bees. How am I doing, Karen? I feel like a little bit of an idiot.
No, you don't. See, the whole intention is for people to switch the topics and feel awkward, because it will be awkward, because sometimes I throw up mangoes in front of a political client, right? And he's like, mangoes? I'm like, get talking, let's go. And what you realize is that you can only be prepared to a certain extent. And the rest is okay. And at times when you make a mistake, most of the time, no one knows except you, because no one knows what you're here to give or share. And if we don't call ourselves on a mistake, absolutely no one will know. And if those 1 and 2 people in the audience know, they're not going to stand up and say, well, listen, I know you should have said. That just doesn't happen. So when you practice that simple exercise, you're just practicing that free flow and making mistakes and being okay and having fun like you just did a short while ago. And that's what it's all about.
Fun? I don't know, man. I don't know about that. No, I get you. And I think it's a good exercise to just kind of feel. Now, I think it all ties together in kind of conclusion on today's conversation, which went by way too fast. I could talk to you forever about this topic. It's my fave. But, you know, when you're authentic and you make mistakes and you are honest and you were prepared and you're about the audience, it's a conversation, not a presentation. And I think that that's part of it too, right? It's just being able to be up there sharing information and not worrying, like you said, about being so perfect. You know, I want to go back to your main point real quickly, because you said it in the beginning, but it was so important about, you know, being a powerful person in your own right. And you've told me in the past you know, everyone has something to share. So, you know, your whole theme of life is what when you present?
My whole theme of life when presenting is exactly as you shared. It's simply a conversation. And I want people to remember this. Far too often we see great speakers, presenters out there, and I'll say the Tony Robbins, the Gary Vee's, the Oprah Winfrey's, and we say we want to be just like them. And I want to tell people something. Anyone listening, you will never be just like them. They are unique in such a special way, as are you. So when you stand in your own worth and you realize that I'm not actually supposed to sound like Oprah, I'm not supposed to sound like Tony, but I'm supposed to sound like Karen and be able to give whatever I have. And if it's this much, I want you to give that at 50%. If it's this much, I want you to give it at 150%. If it's this tiny much, you can only give who you are. And when you stand and you think about, you know what, I like me. And I love sharing because I know I can at least help one person here in the audience. How can you fail? There's no one to compare you to. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Be you. There's no one like you in the world. And that's the whole premise. Have a conversation. Be you. There is no comparison. There will never be a comparison. And just give from here. You can't fail.
Woo, Karen, makes me want to come out and present. Yay! You are so beautiful inside and out. And I'm so grateful that you're here sharing information. Your contact information, of course, is below in the blog post. Thank you, thank you, thank you from my heart. And I'm sure everybody who's watching is all jazzed and really was fired up by your words today. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity. And the best of the best, Alyssa DeVere, conference coach extraordinaire. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Alyssa.
All right, take care. Have a great day.
You as well.